Normally, Zoetrope animations are short. You can only fit so much onto a disc. This one has 23 frames, for example, but the animation itself is a lot longer than that. So if we are in Blender now, the animation is actually 276 frames. That's how long, that's how many frames there are if you watch the full path, if you watch the finger bone follow the path all the way. So how do we fit that into a 23 frame loop? Well, the answer is to run multiple copies of the animation simultaneously, and each copy of the animation has its keyframes offset by the loop size. I call this technique animation multiplexing. It's not an entirely new idea, but I haven't seen any other videos about how you technically go about doing it in Blender, or anybody else talking about the technique as it relates to zoetropes. So here you can see all the keyframes of the 12 copies of the animation and how each copy has its set of keyframes is identical, but they're just offset entirely by the loop size, which is 23 frames. So now if we run the animation, you can see the impact of this multiplexing. We've got a 23 frame loop, but within that 23 frame loop is contained the entire 276 frame original animation. You just have to watch the loop 12 times to see the whole thing. So that's why I call it animation multiplexing, because there's multiple threads of content encoded in a single stream. So next step is to turn this animation into a 3D zoetrope. To do that, we need to create another set of copies, this time 22 copies, giving us 23 sets in all, and each copy is going to be offset by 1 frame, but also rotated by 360 degrees divided by 23, or 15.65 degrees. And when we do that, we end up with an object that looks like this. So that's what our zoetrope is going to look like. And this is how I create the pre-visualization of the animation before I put all the effort into printing, 3D printing. So we've got our 23 copies of the animation, each copy offset by 1 frame and by 15.65 degrees around the Z-axis. And now we can very easily animate it and get an idea of what our animation, our final zoetrope will look like before we put the effort into preparing it for 3D printing. If anyone is interested in that, let me know in the comments. That's a whole other topic. I use NetFab, which is also free software, to take the STL and chop it up and prepare it for 3D printing. But anyway, that looked good, so I went ahead and printed it, and here is the final result again.